What is up? Today is March 9th, 2026, and this is the trade recap for today's trade. We ended up taking a loss today. It's unfortunate because it was such beautiful price action, and I would say today was one of the easier days, because you did not have to dig too deep to see the trade of the day, or in my opinion, what I thought the trade of the day was. Today did test my psychology a lot. I did not overtrade. I did end up taking the wrong trade for wrong reasons, mostly because of just the urge to have to pass the eval today. I don't know why, I just had that urge. I thought it'd be nice to pass the eval on my birthday today, but like literally that's exactly the opposite of what I should have been doing and paying attention on or paying attention towards. I should focus on the trade itself and let the trade come to me and not end up chasing the trade, which made me take the loss. But with all that being said, let's just get straight to the recap and see what ended up doing wrong, and then see how I could have fixed it. So starting off with the 4-hour time frame, we see that okay, we have the new week opening gap, which is an amazing draw on liquidity. I ended up checking the charts yesterday night, and that's how we had this new week opening gap, and I was praying that this morning we would not have filled it, and that would be my main draw on liquidity for the day. And fortunately enough, the prayers have been answered. And so I log into the morning, I see the new week opening gap, I'm like, all right, cool. Let's see if this is a plausible liquidity and see if we're targeting it and if we're bullish. So we ended up, what I noticed on the 1-hour time frame, we ended up moving higher, inversing these higher time frame 1-hour gaps and displacing into the bullish gaps that we formed. So we're now moving from bearish order flow to bullish, right? We're creating gaps, testing them, respecting bullish, what do you call it, confluences and disrespecting bearish ones, which we like to see. And now we're getting closer and closer to setting our new week opening gap as the main draw on liquidity. Then not really much that I have to see on the 1-hour time frame other than that. The 15-minute time frame was a lot more interesting because from here I was able to see the clear accumulation that we had during London session. Right, so fortunately enough, during London session we came up, did not tap into the new week opening gap, and for your information, when I trade the new week opening gap, I tend to trade the constant encroachment of it. I know people tend to trade recall when it just enters the gap initially, but that's just not how I trade. I tend to trade the constant encroachment, and that's the part where I was taught that has the highest reaction and where price is drawn to. So that was the main point of drawing liquidity at this point so far. On 15-minute time frame, we see we have a clear accumulation, and on top of that, we have an hourly gap over here. On ES, we ended up having these lows within this hourly gap. On NQ, we didn't. And you know, if you watch my other videos, that I'm all about high resistance on liquidities, a dozen liquidities within high time frame gaps. Even though this was not in the high time frame gap on NQ, um, because of the fact that we had it on ES, and because of the fact that it's such a clear accumulation, I would have been more than happy to take a trade off of the manipulation of this area and these lows. This low specifically marked out as the low of the accumulation. So now that we have our main plan going into the day, obviously we're not going to be stuck to the bias. And I was thinking, okay, if we ended up taking the new week opening gap off rip and showing a reaction to the downside, then we could obviously target accumulation lows if that had not already been taken out, and even these lows right here, right? So we're not married to our bias. We're always reactionary traders. Now, market ended up opening, and what we do is immediately take out these accumulation highs. Now, I had the strong belief that this was not the manipulation of the leg. However, this was a possible short for people to take. We had a bearish S&T and a high side for inversal. You could have taken that short to the accumulation lows, but I wanted to see, since I did not believe this was the main manipulation of the session, I want to see price manipulate the lows and from there move higher. That's exactly what we did. We ended up staying patient from 9:30 all the way to 10 o'clock, or around 10 o'clock, around 9:50 is when we finally manipulated these lows. And after we manipulated these lows, it was approaching 10 o'clock, so I was gonna expect some amped up volatility in the markets. And at this point, the highest time frame fair value gap was this 5-minute fair value gap over here. And this is my condition. If we inverse If I have a fair value gap, I will enter, target Newbie Opening Gap, and that's pretty much it. That was the main plan. What ended up happening, let's see, zooming into the 1 minute time frame. So as you can see, 10 a.m. hit, we had amped up volatility in the market, and I thought was the distribution like towards the drawn liquidity, but boy was I wrong. So we ended up inversing the 5 minute gap where it entered super um terrible RR, but ended up entering off the 5 minute. Universal set up my stop loss at these 2 or 3 minute lows, whatever you want to call them, and setting my take profit at the Newbie Opening Gap and my break even at the most recent high of the session. Now, at the time when I was in the trade, I thought this was an amazing trade, but as soon as it got stopped out, I had to take a step back, put auto lock on, and reanalyze what the hell I did, and that's where it dawned on me that this is the most retarded trade ever, and that I was okay. I don't know if I'm allowed to swear or not, but like this was the most stupid trade because I noticed that I was chasing the trade and was focused on the end goal, which is passing the cat rather than be focused on the quality of the trade, which is literally something I've been journaling the entire time and something I'm really disappointed in myself. But yeah, if you guys don't see why this is a bad trade, obviously we inverse the 5 minute gap, but I'm literally forcing the trade. With every single trade you take, or for me, personally, I like to have my stop loss at a point of invalidation where I know the market is not going to retest because it just took out liquidity and it's a high resistance, lower high, right? And this is the exact opposite of what I did. So we're looking at the charts. We can clearly see, okay, we inverse 5 minute gap. Great. We have more bullish sentiment, right? But the stupid thing about this trade is I should have taken it and I should have let it go. Not every single trade is going to be caught. And that's what I have to learn to accept. Obviously, we know that the accumulation lows were the main draw on liquidity to be manipulated for us to then show reaction off and distribute to the Newbie Opening Gap. Hence, the manipulation of these manipulation, what do you call it, accumulation lows would have been the high resistance high resistance low that would be my stop loss. And what they ended up doing is putting my stop loss at these 2 minute lows for no freaking reason other than just to get a 1-to-1, which would encourage me to take the trade. That's it. The only reason why I put my stop loss here was to get a 1-to-1 so I can enter the trade with an excuse of being okay, 1-to-1, good trade. Totally wrong. My point of invalidation should have been these lows where the accumulation was manipulated. Price does not want to go back to it. We can clearly see price did not go back to it. And if I knew and set in stone with discipline that my stop loss is here and that the 5 minute inverse was here, I clearly would not have taken the trade because this is a negative RR trade. It's 0.77, and I would not have taken it. I always go for at least a 1-to-1. And so this is where I should have realized, okay, this trade is not meant for me to take it, whether we enter too late or whatever, but it's a 0.7 risk to reward ratio. That's not my trade. I should not have taken it. So if I just fully, what do you call it, eliminated that possibility of taking this trade, then what would happen is, first of all, I would prevent it getting stopped out. And second of all, I would have been able to see the unfolding setup, the proper setup that I thought was the trade of the day, right? So after we got literally brutally stopped out, as soon as I entered, like 2 seconds later, stopped out, bang, ruined the whole mood. But it is what it is. We ended up coming down, forming a bearish S&T, right? If you guys can't see it, bearish S&T with these lows, with the accumulation lows, bearish S&T, ended up forming another 2 minute bearish fair value gap, which that would have been the highest time frame inversion if we got one, right? Over here, the 2 minute, where I would have entered on the 2 minute closure, so around here, set my stop loss at the S&T, which would have been a protected low, high resistance, good stop loss placement, and not just to get a good risk reward ratio, and target these previous highs or even new week opening gap, right? So if I were to take this trade, I would take either or target either this high or the new week opening gap, preferably the new week opening gap, because that was my main draw on liquidity, and price always tends to be magnetized towards it. And just like that, I would have got a nice 1 to 1.85 or 1 to 2 risk to reward ratio, a nice trade that has more fundamentals and more structure to it. And that's just what ended up would have happening if I stayed disciplined, stayed patient, and didn't chase the trade. And a lot of times, this is what happens when you don't follow your rules. And all I'm gonna do right now is just journal the trade. Well, I did journal actually my mistakes, my psychology, and I have to understand that passing a funded account isn't the end goal. It's to build good habits, become a disciplined trader, and in instilling those attributes into yourself and practicing them, the money comes, the funded accounts come, the payouts come, and that's just something I have to realize. And yeah, I'm gonna take it with a grain of salt. Obviously, we take losses seriously. We don't just care. We don't just push them off to the side. We journal them, understand what we did right, did wrong, and if something I did wrong, I'm gonna learn from it and try my absolute best to not repeat it. It was unfortunate, took the L in the B day, but it's God's plan. It's a lesson to be learned, and I can't complain, right? Because there's always things to learn. I don't know what else to say, but looking forward to next or tomorrow's trading session. It's unfortunate we don't get a lot of new opening gaps that aren't not already filled by New York session. It is what it is, and yeah, pretty much said everything I have to say. This does conclude the trade recap for today, and I'll try to stay more disciplined and consistent with trading or with the trade recaps. But this week I literally have two midterms, so we'll see how it goes. But yeah, catch you guys in the next one.